Sir, we can start.
Our Facebook Live, sir. Please start.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Maharashtra TPO Association, I welcome Honorable Dr. Sandhya Chintala ma'am, who is the Vice President of NASSCOM, one of the biggest body of IT organizations in India, and not only India, across the world, we can say. And dear friends, we also have various participants, industry professionals, then TPOs, principals, students, faculty from various colleges, not only across Maharashtra, but from across the country. It's pleasure for us to host this particular event because everybody knows that the situation is a bit tough and we have to understand what is going on across the country. So NASSCOM is the body which can really tell us where the economy will go and what should be the next new. In the sense, how will be the work culture, how will be the learning process here onwards. So we are really fortunate to have Honorable Dr. Sandhya Chintala ma'am. And I now request Honorable Secretary of Maharashtra Association of TPOs, Dr. Sanjay Jadhav sir. Jadhav sir, please welcome all.
Yeah, good afternoon. Welcome all, dear students, professors, technical professional persons, principals, and IT professionals from various industries for this MATPO webinar series. So Maharashtra Association of Training and Placement Officers, that is MATPO, Ma of all Training Placement Officers, in association with NASSCOM IT ITS Sector Skill Council. Today we are organizing the webinar on remote learning and working, that is the new normal. Today we have with us speaker from NASSCOM, that is Honorable Dr. Sandhya Chintala ma'am, Vice President of NASSCOM and Executive Director of IT ITES Sector Skills Council. Thank you very much, ma'am, for today you have with us and for giving us your precious time. So for today's topic, we have some points and some key points we are going to cover. That is, what will be the new work culture in organization, what remote working, remote learning, what will be the new normal, and will there be permanent jobs or mostly contractual jobs, what will be the in production needs. So welcome ma'am for this event. I welcome you all. Over to you, Ravandali sir.
Thank you, sir. So ma'am, just to inform you and the participants about MATPO. MATPO we started before 2 years. The aim is to help the student community and enhance the employability ecosystem of our state as well as the country. And we are trying our level best to bring to come up with certain programs for students, faculty, as well as some industry professionals. And we are getting information from the industry, what is happening, which technologies are needed, how we should train the students, and we are accordingly trying to help the student community. Apart from that, major objective is to provide them jobs. So I am really happy to inform all of you that because of this strong 500 family members, TPOs of colleges across Maharashtra, we could do many activities since 2017, and major activity was full campus and off-campus recruitment drives. So 600 plus full campus recruitment drives, dear friends, we have done. Thanks a lot to all the members, honorable members, GC members, UR members, and other members of MATPO family for helping us. More than 14,000 plus students we could place through these 50 plus major activities. Then we also conduct many industry institute interaction meets. Then we conduct some regional meets of TPO development programs. We do conduct some student development programs we are conducting. Then campus placement programs, webinars, mock tests, because first test for any campus selection process is aptitude test. So we try to give many mock tests to students so that their practice happens, and then maximum number of students could crack the actual test of the company. Then expert talks, aptitude idol championship, entrepreneurship development meets, internships, virtual as well as offline, boot camps. Those are some of the things which we regularly do. This is the poster of Maha Entrepreneurship Summit, which we conducted with the help of our Honorable Governing Council member, Lokhande sir, as well as Jadhav sir in Mumbai. And we got very good, huge response for that. This is the poster of MATPO Aptitude Idol, in which 43,000 students from across the state participated and could get the benefit out of it. These are the governing council members. Thanks to all these governing council members, they are the backbones, and these university representative members who are helping taking our mottos and our activities to the root level in universities across the state. So these are our team members. I am really thankful to all the members, and once again I welcome ma'am. I now request our Chief PRO Application Officer, Mr. Sutar sir. Sutar sir, over to you. Please introduce ma'am. Over to you, sir.
Today's Power Pack session, we got one eminent personality as Dr. Sandhya Chintala. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes. So she is the Executive Director of IT Sector Skills Council NASSCOM, which is an integral part of NASSCOM. SSC NASSCOM addresses the education and skills development initiative of this industry body for the country. Dr. Sandhya Chintala is also the Vice President of the National Association of Software and Service Companies, which is the Chamber of Commerce of the IT BPM industry. Dr. Chintala has a rich background in the international and national education management. Her role at NASSCOM includes providing the roadmap for IT BPM industries, NASSCOM education initiatives, programs with a vision to develop education strategy, capacity building, assessment, and evaluation. The development of industry standards to facilitate a quality talent pool, liaising between industry, academia, government, making India the preferred global destination for all IT and BPM IT requirements. Dr. Chintala brings her research publications and activities to this ecosystem with a 37 years of experience to facilitate talent transformation and acquisition for this industry body. As a strategist, Dr. Chintala has in close collaboration with the IT BPM industry and other relevant stakeholders contributed to the design and development of the Sector Skills Council for NASSCOM. To facilitate talent transformation and acquisition, her contribution aims at the development of multiple programs of occupational learning that support employer requirements in the face of shrinking labor markets and growing international competition. Dr. Chintala's contribution toward the development of quality assurance parameters for affiliation, accreditation, and certification documents, and the design and development of high-end online assessments and platforms. Thank you very much, ma'am, for giving opportunity for MATPO.
Do you want me to share the screen now?
Yes, ma'am.
Ravandala, you are on mute.
Okay, thank you, Sudarshan sir. Ma'am, over to you. Please go ahead. Can you share your screen, ma'am?
Yes, let me just do 1 minute.
Yeah,
Screen
please.
has gone off. Just can you see the screen now?
Yes, ma'am. We can see
Yes,
the
ma'am.
screen.
Yes.
Should I zoom it or you're comfortable?
Yeah.
with it?
No, I think you should
Ma'am,
make it.
please press F5.
Correct.
Is it
correct.
is it okay now?
Just
Alright,
press
One
F5.
second.
Yes.
Yeah. It's perfectly
Perfect.
fine, ma'am. Please go ahead.
At the outset,
Spotlight, Sudarshan sir.
Ma'am, 1 minute, please. I request all co-hosts also to switch off their audios. Thank you. Please, ma'am. Please go ahead.
so good afternoon or good evening, early evening for all of us. And thank you at the outset to MATPO for actually making this happen. It's an amazing opportunity where all of us can work together in a collaborative fashion to make a difference. As all of you know, friends, from those of you who are vice chancellors, directors, principals, CEOs of trading companies, faculty, students, and other friends who are here with us, that India has an opportunity during the COVID. It is a sad story globally and also in India, but the ability for a country to ride the wave and to make a difference is what we have to do. And this is nothing done any better than the education academic community like yourselves. So today's topic, as introduced, is about remote learning and working in the new normal. So the question is, what is happening today is that with the new normal, industry, IT/ITES industry, which is led by NASSCOM, which is the National Association of Software and Service Companies, is about 28, and this is our 29th year of existence. It's a community of all the IT industry players in the country, about 29,000 plus IT/ITES players. And these players basically own around about 92% of the business and about 90% of the human resource for this industry in the country, providing to almost 9.5% of the GDP. And we today stand at about 200 billion as a revenue source. And we plan to be about 350 billion by 2025. And we do not see any impact that will negatively impact this growth because we are constantly reinventing ourselves. And that is why I want you to share this journey with us so that we do this growth of economic development for the country, but we have to do it in a fast forward. So therefore, the way we used to work, the way we used to learn, and the way we live has all changed. Now we are hardly moving out. We're all working from home. This particular industry, almost in the last 2 months, has moved about 75 lakh laptops, iPads, etc. to the homes. And we are 85% or more of the industry is already working from home, and effectively so. In the new forward, we think that it will take almost 2 years and the industry will come to love the way it is actually working because it's very, very proactively. The return on investment is very high here because you don't have to spend on so many things. But how do we cope? So how will India transform? How will we have our young ones educated? How will the existing employee base, faculty, principals, government, employees in companies, in retail space, in automotive, in telecom, into healthcare, into the gem and jewelry business, whether it is in the automotive or into the manufacturing business, in the agricultural business, everywhere there's an impact of technology. And we need to understand how we can leverage this in our normal programs of learning, whether it is through the UGC or through the AICT programs. So having said this, you can have all your questions available. I'll keep this short, but I'll give you the idea of what we are doing and how we are transforming. So this particular piece is a national problem, but it's also a global solution that we are looking for. So is India ready for this? So what is the next best thing? Can India, particularly now, become the new China? Because China was the world's global factory, but now it has created a sense of mistrust. And therefore, everybody is looking to say, who can become the next global factory of the world? Who will become the new human resource factory of the world? Everyone is looking to India. So if we take this up the next 6 months and make the necessary changes and the transformations required both at the industry end, which we are doing from ourselves, but also from the academic side, which is the two sides of the spectrum, I'm sure we'll be able to make this deal. So let me give you a few facts which you never would have thought. Say, how will people say, how is India going to make this different? We're a long way. But would you not know that the first offshoring destination in the world is India? 55% of the market share is with India today. It's the third largest startup ecosystem. Of course, US is first, second is China. We are the third. It is the second largest casting producer in the world. It is the second largest producer of steel and cement. Second largest producer of phone manufacturing. Third largest producer of coal. Fourth largest for iron ore. First largest diamond cutting and polishing industry in the world. 75% of the world's polished diamonds come from India. You, Maharashtra, Surat, you know this pretty well. We're the fourth largest automaker, largest manufacturer of two-wheelers and tractors, third largest manufacturer and truck manufacturer, fourth largest car manufacturer. Just to up the ace a little bit, transform ourselves to become the first, invite people globally, make ease of business. But all of them are coming to the country for one purpose. Is there a ready talent pool? and especially in the emerging technologies like AI, big data, 3D printing, cloud computing, social security, cyber security, augmented virtual reality. Then you have remote AVR, right? We have robotic process automation, nanosensors. So are we ready in all this? So if we are not ready, we need to take this opportunity. Earlier on, I will leave you with this. Are we in control of this position, of this transformation? That's a question. And this is one session that I would appeal to Matto to actually make this difference, enable this change so that we can actually ride the wave, right? So one of the things is, how is this industry going to work? Is the way we were learning, the way we were producing placement requirements, is it going to meet the future or even the current? We thought this whole construct that I'm going to talk to you of alternate work category, which is called the gig economy, will come in another 10 years down the line. But today, it's at our doorstep. All of us are working from home. College, schools, children, everybody are at home. Faculty are at home. But then we cannot stop the clock because the economy will come to a standstill. So what is the new normal now? So the answer is, if we're going to try to produce students for the old requirements, we're going to be out of sync, because this industry as a leader and as an enabler for all other major sectors in the country, we find that there is a new way of working. One is going to be called the gig economy. So the work, you will never find that there are going to be a large number of individuals who are not going to be full-time employees. They will be what you call as independent workers or contract workers. Globally, this is now taking a huge shift, but I'm going to give you some surprising facts about India on this particular construct already. It's just that we don't see it, but it's already there. Another is a sharing economy. Everybody shares an Uber car, you share resources, you share services. So that's sharing economy. Now, the platform economy, we are connecting on a platform. It's a service provided with somebody else. Infrastructure is someplace else, but we are collaborating. So 30 to 40% of the workforce in the developed markets will be on independent work. Now, where are the jobs growing? Because this is where we are of interest. 94% of the net jobs in the last 10 years was in this gig economy, or what you call the alternate work category. Very surprising. But we are seeing it, but we are not noticing it. So why is it that people do this alternate work? People like in the Maslow's hierarchy, they like to be in control, to have autonomy of their own time. They don't want to be under somebody else working. So most of the people who are 48% of the people work in the alternate or the gig economy principles because they want to be in control and they want that autonomy. 19% work because they like to actually look for another job, but they will try to augment their earnings with this. Many times, balancing careers and families is a problem. So 48% will like to do contractual work. Some look at it as making one more income while you're working, do something else. And some, of course, look at making extra money. So 55% of the people are in that category. So this is one idea of the gig. But in India, you would have thought, oh my God, is it now no more a TCS going to hire a Wipro, Infosys, a HCL, a Cognizant? Is it going to be Dell, Deloitte? How are Google, Microsoft? Are they not going to hire full time? We're all starting to look at also contractual workers. There will be free workers, but 75, even TCS has recently said, even after we so-called reset and go back to the normal leave, probably 2 years, because we think it's going to take so much time to get the vaccine out. By the time he says 75% of my people are going to work from home. So in that scenario, are we as an academic community ready to actually cater to that sort of a work ethos? You'll be quite surprised to know that in the world, if there are if there are about 10 freelancers, almost 4 of them are from India. This country globally, people dominate 50% of the global freelancers, or what you call gig economy individuals, are from India already, and you don't even notice it. Now, let me tell you about some stats about how much these people earn. There are about 500 freelancers in India, and we did some survey on it. The annual income for them is 19 lakhs, right? 23% of them surveyed are from 40 lakhs to 45 lakhs. These are all starts. One is saying that in India could almost have about 20 million freelancers, and by about 2025, this freelancing community's contribution to the economy will be 20 billion to 30 billion dollars. And most of them are in this age group of 40, and they are predominantly men. But more and more women are joining this community, and more youngsters now. The different changes from college will go into a contractual employment. You can earn, don't have to be loyal to one company. You can earn for 4 hours as a web developer or a data scientist or a cybersecurity professional. You could be working as a healthcare architect, which is doing on RPA, robotic process automation. The sky is the limit because it's cross-functional. But having said this idea that students can actually move into contract, they can work for about 4 hours for Vietnam, work for another 3 hours in Coimbatore, work for another 2 hours somewhere in Maharashtra, and then still run their own entrepreneurial business. So there's going to be no loyalty for any particular company for long. You are an expert, you are competent, you have to be certified. So now, how will the educational institutions give rise and give birth to such individuals who will be in a cycle of continuous learning? So I will talk to you about that. But having said this, there are some problems. I put it out in red here. There is a traditional mindset in our community. Now, the bigger problem is lack of networking platforms. Not everybody has a smartphone or a smart laptop or a tablet that you have, because this device and bandwidth is an absolute one. And there is a billing variance which is still in isolation. So some will get very highly paid, some don't. So this information has to be standardized. So one of the things is in the benefits of the work way that is going to become the new normal with the reset button is all companies will go towards this gig economy process. They will move towards contractual, and they will also move towards working from home. Infosys, TCS, Wipro, all of them already started. So it's not that they're going to now start. It's already started. We are already 6 months into this since March. All of us are doing work from home. We find that it's actually more taxing. It doesn't seem to stop. And people are working more and more. They're getting a lot of psychological problems. They're having eye problems, headaches, etc. So this is a new balance that we have to do. In a house where 3 or 4 people work and everybody wants their own station of how to do separate work so that there is a quality info share. It is, we have to find solutions for that. But ladies and gentlemen, this is the new work where there'll be flexible hours and you can work anytime, any place, anywhere at your own pace. And you can choose your type of work. That means your degree, your certificate of competence, your global work should be a global recognized certification. So MAPTO, what you have to do basically is not only see that students are enabled in their degree, but they are also job ready. They are introduced to this type of work ethos so that they'll be able to be effectively transition and transform themselves in the new norm. So having said this, what is it that we can do in the education space? Because somewhere we have to learn, right? So one of the things is we're saying we have to have a new normal for learning. All the colleges are closed. They're totally at home. But we want you to finish your semester exams. We want you to finish your end of year exams. Now, can you do this through a remote online exam process? Yes. SSC NASSCOM has the process. We have empaneled assessment agencies. We are working with the government that has said that you can have remote proctoring and you can have auto-proctored assessments and exams. That means while you're sitting at your home and doing an exam, there's a software tool and like an app. And that, what it does is monitors your movement, your hand movement, your eyeball movement, whether you shift out of your browser, whether you talk to somebody, everything, and it raises a flag. So it actually tells you that it gives you sort of a negative marking, or after 4 or 5 flags as programmed by the university, it says you are caught cheating and therefore you failed the exam benefit. So all of this is now available virtually. So we are looking for government to legitimize this. So MAPTO should work with the Maharashtra government and make this a formal opportunity. Then the next one is an empanelment via accreditation. And there must be credit equivalents for the new job roles and cost-based programs that are made available to schools, colleges, universities, etc. So if you look at this side here, a state government sponsorship is very critical because government colleges will not be reacting. universities which are private owners might take this honest on themselves, but how will they give this degree that this individual is also an engineer or a BSc Science, BCom, but is also a financial analyst. He is a certified data scientist. So that has come out in the new education policy 2020. But how do we integrate it into this? We are happy to help anytime post this call also. My team and I will be able to help you integrate this. Now, the next one is MHRD, MSDE, Government of India sponsorship. We are hoping that this new will, remember, it will require a lot of infrastructure also. Online tools, software tools have to be made available. Might be expensive. So how do I set up a cyber range? How will I do that? So those expenditures, we hope that government will be able to give to the universities and colleges, which they can share as a part of the fee to all the students on an online program. Third, we are looking at is a global collaboration, because the new student who comes out of the MAPTO area or in any part of India will now be a global employee. He will look for work all over the world. So like we put up an advertisement for hotels in Trivago, like this you will put up the new hiring will happen online, virtual job fairs. Companies will come, look at your CVs, your video clips, and they will then ask you interviews online and then take you on, because the whole process is going to be, especially in the tech space, we can do this all online. So now there are two ways that we will request MAPTO to support, and all of you are listening in, is that there can be online e-learning or remote learning. That just this way you have your normal face-to-face classrooms, now you will have a virtual classroom. Faculty have to be trained to basically take webinars. They will have their same sort of timetables. Students will go online as per the timetable. Then they will actually listen to the lectures. They will debate online. They will have role play. They will have a lot of hackathon processes, problem solving, learning ability, attention to detail. All those traits can be brought in place. They have to also submit homework. They will be validated for formative as well as summative exams. Everything on an online remote process. So this, instructor-led training has to transform to a virtual instructor-led training. Now, if you are keen, we have the processes in place. And NASSCOM has put together what is called the Future Skills Platform for business to academia. And we can help actually enable this for you. Now, there's another thing which is called a customized online e-learning aggregator marketplace. Because then you will say there is a Coursera course, Udacity, Simplilearn, edX course is there. Then you have Udemy, then we have Upgrad. We can do those courses ourselves. But we want to put it onto one structured platform. Like you go to a supermarket for everything, one place, everything is available. The Ministry of IT has signed an MOU with NASSCOM to make this customized online e-learning platform available to all. So it will shortly come up for everybody to participate. But in the interim, this whole online B2A process, we can enable and help you, even with the support of the local government, that we can get so that you have confidence that whatever is being taught by faculty is as per the curricula, and then we can come into play as we can do the whole online assessment evaluation. Why is that? Because we have been identified by the Government of India as the authorized assessment body for all these job roles and competencies, right? So this is one area, but what is happening around the world is what I would like to also bring to you. So this technology solution, what is China doing? So they have said now, I have to make the schools and colleges restart, otherwise we lose as an economy. So they've all started interactive apps. They've done learning from home. Wherever the homes don't have students, which they are very not able to have all these devices, they have started using live television broadcast. We already have Doordarshan. Can we not make it more interactive and available for each slot, that there is a channel for each university, and make this happen? Even physical education, they're taking videos and then uploading it online and then taking classes, piano lessons, guitar lessons, music classes, drama, everything is being done online. So now shortly we are also expecting 5G to become a technology where the speed will increase. But what we're saying is using these Google Classrooms, face-to-face, all sorts of classrooms, we at NASSCOM under the Ministry of Skills and Entrepreneurship is making this available for you. Make this an opportunity to ride the wave. So that I'm sharing this message because it's available for all of you, so that all of us can be employable now and for the future. Having said this, what is the next piece that is happening? Public-private partnership is taking place. So cloud-based online learning and broadcasting platforms are happening. So this is specifically what we are doing with Mighty, and this is the Future Skills Prime, as I said, which is going to be available. But in Hong Kong also, 60 educational organizations. Now under MAPTO, you have 500 organizations. Can you not get together so that publishers, media, entertainment industry, professionals, and all of you put all your assets together on the cloud, including videos, book chapters, and assessment tools we can provide, counseling services also for the gig economy to help these students learn and also get jobs in the virtual market. So we should connect up. So if you put together, this is what the transformation we need to do. There is a group like staffing companies, the other producers who actually help. All of these people can come on together to do this. And I can subsequently also offer you a large host of free apps that are available for the attendance, for doing curriculum, for having video conferencing. Everything is available. Just get to know about it and we can make it available for you. The third piece which we find is the issues. How many of all the students in the universities will have laptops or iPads or the bandwidth of at least 3G in their homes? Without it, it's going to be a problem. But this is not a problem just in India or in Maharashtra, which you will find. 60% of the globe's population is only online. The rest of them are not. So this is a global problem and everybody is trying to find an opportunity to make this work. So the way we are looking at is that if we can collaborate, we're happy to take this on as a way forward to use MAPTO as one group of 500 institutions coming together, both in the formal and the non-formal sector, to see how we can enable this learning during the COVID. It will take at least another 1 to 2 years before we go back to also having virtual, what we call it, face-to-face learning. Once you are there, you will find that 50% of the students will still want to do social distancing. So you might say in a week's class, where every student is expected to go for at least 20 classes, you will break up the class into about 5 to 6 sections. So everybody comes only once a week to the university or the college to study. The rest is going to do at home. That means all your programs must be available online. And you must be able to give equal marks for that online assignments. And tutorials and practicals can also be run online. So there are opportunities. If those practicals cannot be, then only for those, you will not invite the whole class, but only about 10 or 15 people and will come in a staggered format. So how are you going to entertain the new blend? How are you saying that if I make all this investment in virtual universities tomorrow when we go back to the normal, then I don't need it. But that's not so. The virtual university is an additional resource and an additional revenue earner for you. You can open up your doors with your faculty taking classes for the globe, for other countries who are wanting it. You would believe there are so many Indian teachers hired who are teaching English to British students. So the possibility is endless. You just have to think a little out of the box, articulate what is the funding requirement and all of it, which we are very happy to help you put this together. But as a community, we can bridge this digital divide. And if the state government is willing, many of them are looking now as to use renting out of cell phones or tablets for students to be able to do this, because they have to be smart for them to be able to use all this sort of new learning practices. But the class is the same. But the teachers now will have an opportunity to go, and when they're taking, say, mechanical engineering, or they're talking of a CS IT program, EEE, or a BSc program, or a finance, they can show cross-functionally in the third year. They can do electives which are from other sectors, from agriculture, from retail, to manufacturing, to healthcare. So what happens is the opportunities for jobs are there. So the applicability of this learning is right across. So that means you are competent to be employed. Then your employability increases very high, and the chances of you being underemployed or unemployed is very low. But ladies and gentlemen, This is a continuous learning cycle. Those of us who are employed in the industry, 60 to 70% are doing retraining over the last 2 years, because that is the dynamic way the requirements of the tech industry and its impact in digital, global digital 4.0 is going to be. So a one-time learning is not going to be there. So how will the university cater to the requirements of an ongoing community of people who want to be constantly trained? It's a virtual construct. So if you look at this as a huge opportunity for you to reinvent the university structure and to look at new revenue models catering to the need of this country and the globe, I think we have a game to win. So there are new, last but not the least, is the academic format. Like in the companies, we have said, bring your own device. Before, we only used to provide all the devices and the software. We say, bring your own. We think students will go into create your own learning. They will put together modules of learning which have got some credits, and that is feasible in an online construct. This keeps the individual very impassioned, rather than you have an engineer driving a car or you have a doctor becoming a cook. We can actually see that they move towards the passion, because even a plumbing process is now highly smart. Buildings are there. It's a highly engineered professional process that is there. So combine hybrid approaches and social media classroom strategies, virtual academies that are flexible, serve highly motivated, self-directed learners and custom-based. But then many learners also don't want to learn on their own. They want to be directed. So mentoring online is very important. So the faculties now will have a new way of learning and teaching, and they should be constantly available. And this is also a revenue model. You have a pay scale with your universities and colleges, but you can earn extra by moonlighting globally. So it is very important, ladies and gentlemen, that we take this into consideration as the new way that the industry is going to work, and therefore the new response that the academic community must do so as to provide people who are constantly relevant with any time, anywhere, and with their own pace of learning, working, and of course, living. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for this opportunity, NAPTO in particular, and my own colleague and friend, Ms. Amrita Basu, for enabling all of this. But it's question answer time. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. And definitely, as you said, we academia will definitely try our level best. Through MATPO, we will try to make this ecosystem stronger in state of Maharashtra. Now we have some questions, ma'am.
Yes,
can we
please.
have Mr. Wilson Pinto, please? Wilson, sir, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. I'm there. Good afternoon, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Good afternoon. Yes, absolutely, sir.
Thank you very much for a wonderful session, ma'am, and good insights into the gig economy. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Please go ahead.
Here, as a social human being, human are a social animal. Okay, so when you're talking about learning, we are looking at learning from peers, learning from teachers. Similarly, when you go to workforce, you are also learning from peers and superiors. So when you're talking of only work from home, the balance of learning which will happen from other quarters, you might be learning on your own through self-directed learning and all this thing is fine, but something will be irreplaceable. That's learning from peers and learning from their seniors or other people. That is one aspect of it. And second is, how do you manage the work-life balance when your work is home and home is work? How do you segregate these two things to ensure that your psychological as well as physical balance is maintained?
So I'll take the first question, sir. One is on peers. So the way we are now working is there's no time that we are doing an independent piece of work. So we are collaborating through the world. So all of the individuals who are working on a particular project are all coming together, but we have a fixed timetable. We will communicate for this half. Just like we set up our own meetings physically, we are doing the same here online also. And just like we are meeting here, I'm able to see all the faces of individuals, what they chat. They will share their project work. They will show their screenshots of how they have drawn the architectural design, or they will show the formats of how they are coding. So everything is done. It's just some time it takes for us to get used to the online process. So many of us are quite used to it. So we have found that we are equally, effective, and our business is running pretty well with working from home. That's the reason why the companies are saying that they don't have to invest on now electricity bills or maintenance of the, what do you call it, the doors and windows and the furniture and the laptop. Everything has been sent home. We are working on trust, and everything is now we can look at with cybersecurity options in place. All the data is secure, the flows are secure, and we're able to work. So the learning now actually we started communicating much more, and we found that our workload has increased almost 10x. I'll tell you why. Every time if I had a meeting, I'll have to travel 2 hours to the ministry from Noida, and I have to another 2 hours to get back. Now those 4 hours are available for another 4 meetings. So everybody is connecting and we are able to work very, very strongly, and the learning is not deferred because now I'm getting people from Australia, from New Zealand, from Korea. Everybody is there available. Nobody has to fly out. He doesn't have to take 24 hours on flight and come here for a 2-hour meeting. He's doing it online. So people have become very efficient actually in doing that. So we did see any difference. In the academic community, once you start using it and it becomes the only way you're going to communicate, you will find that the comfort soon builds in. It's just a psychological mindset. Now, the work-life balance is a big problem, but what we have done is that we have said, just like I used to leave for the office at 8 o'clock, now at 8 o'clock, everybody gets dressed. We sit down on the work. We have a whole timetable shared out with all the players, with the whole team, Pan India, and says at 8:30 this meeting, 9:30 we'll do. We'll give ourselves basically about half an hour to 45 minutes during lunchtime. Otherwise, every meeting is typed. Minutes of meetings are made available, passed on. Business is being done. We are talking to government. Government is also secretaries, ministers, all are coming online like we are doing right now. So the whole process has become there. But what I would advise is it's very important that you set this in motion for yourself, just like you have done. Because now we found in the first few months that we were working right through the clock. We were closing work at about 2 a.m. That was not good because the next day you're tired. And you will find that by working 12 hours to 15 hours on the system, you get a lot of headaches, you have eye burn, and your problem with eyesight increases. So then every 1 hour, we have to get up at 5 minutes, go do some walking around, do something else differently, probably make yourself a cup of tea, have a snack, etc., come back. Because that we have set. So after the first 1.5 hours of this problem, we have been able to organize our time. So, but it's very difficult to have impromptu calls. Nowadays, if somebody calls up just like that, you can't take it because you're already in a call with someone. So the discipline has to set in. And we are doing it just not as an individual, but we are doing it as a team, and then as an organization, and then with all our clients. So everybody seems to have taken this and imbibed this discipline. So this is how we are working now, sir. But as things go on, I've also got complaints from my faculty, from my colleagues, who say both husband and wife, as well as the father-in-law and mother-in-law working. It's a small apartment. How do I get this small space? Like I've bought myself a small place in the room and I'm working with you. But how do I get impromptu without having noises from everywhere else? So these are problems that we still probably will find a software that will have a noise cutting software that will come into play. I'm sure a company will come up. But this is where we are at, sir.
Yeah, I think probably real estate will have to come up with different solutions, and maybe in apartments only some small cabins they will give. I think probably in next coming years.
Yeah, because
anyways,
now in the new because in the new normal now, children have become a problem. People will hear youngsters who have youngsters screaming, so we call them. We also introduce them. So everybody in our colleagues globally are introducing their children, and they're usually a part of the conversation. So that's how we are managing.
True. Thank you for the nice answer, ma'am. We have Mr. Deepak Pawar sir, who is also the vice president of our Marathwada region. Deepak Pawar sir,
hello sir, hello ma'am, good evening.
Yes, good evening sir.
Very interactive, I mean very informative session, ma'am. This is my question is what are the plans of NASSCOM for the growth of Indian IT software industries?
So the growth of NASSCOM basically is all our businesses are now growing very global. They have always been global, and that 55% which is outsourcing is all contribution from NASSCOM members. Our problem is that now we are all automating, becoming a digital economy, and therefore we are able to contribute to every aspect, whether it's an e-commerce space or it is a banking space or it's in the healthcare space, whether it is media and entertainment, everything is having a technology input. So there is no problem. The problem comes in the emerging tech. Suppose I have something like genomics, and where I want to have food grades that last longer, storage, transportation, all of this, everything is going smart. So what we need to do is that we cannot work in isolation. So we have found out that in the new space, that technology, especially the 10 new technologies, will be a requirement right from school itself. So from 10th class, 12th class, even as early as 6th class, what is AI? What is cybersecurity? How will we be using it? Because children are using those smartphones, they're using their laptops, and AI is an integral part. What is data security? How is the data going to flow from one? All of you are using WhatsApp, but all of us have sold away our data for the utilization of those. So the industry seems to be an upswing, but its integration and application for the others, we have to wait. Because I'm not able to apply it to an industry that's not operational. Construction industry has come to a halt, right? So now the airline industry has come to a halt. So most of 70 to 80% of the airlines used to work on the software integration. The aeroplanes totally are remotely managed. All that is software integration into the hardware. So all of that has come to a halt, but we still feel it will swing back. But we think that the time will be around about 2 years. So in the interim, we are surviving. We are being very lean, and that's the reason why we don't want to go back to the offices to work, because it's almost a 20 to 30% reduction working from home. So that's how we are trying to manage. We have not given any salary cuts, but we have not given increments either. But the other thing that we have done is those people who are inefficient, who are not able, before we could carry the load, now we cannot carry the load. So those people, so constantly we expect our employees to reinvent the wheel to be relevant. If they're not relevant and they're not contributing, then obviously it becomes a burden on the others, because now the revenue inflow is definitely less, and it will take some time before it can move upswing again. But what we are looking for is the new process of how we can innovate in this. You wouldn't believe how many institutions have now sprung up offering online learning. Why is it that the colleges and universities don't want to open their doors on business again? So we are scared, right? Networking possibility. So we have to think differently, and as older folk, we have to encourage this transformation, basis which the business will go. But otherwise, the IT industry is looking at a very strong upswing again. We're just waiting for the others to open. But we are quite, because now almost last 1.5 to 2 months, you won't believe 75 to 80 lakh laptops we have transported back to the homes.
Oh.
So that sort of things, we have done it in 20, 30 days. That's the reason why we are very quick to work. So how many of us have got from the academic universities, colleges, laptops, cell phones, so students can start? Because most of the private colleges and the private schools, they've all had classes. So only those who are in the other sections are losing out. And you're saying you will take their last year's marks as this year's marks, or their formative marks as this. So for us, that is please go ahead. There's some disturbance. Yeah. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Raundale, sir. I think Raundale, sir, is not getting the voice. I think next question, ma'am.
Yes.
One of our member, one of our colleague, Professor Prasad Mule, sir, would like to ask a question.
Sure,
Prasad Mule,
please,
sir, are you there? Are you able to listen the question, sir?
Hello.
Yes.
Prasad, sir, yeah, you are audible.
Good evening, madam.
Good evening.
Ma'am, my question is, like, we are dealing with the students as placement officers,
Yes.
and we always see we also track their record, what they are doing in their future life. So
Okay.
what we have always seen that the students, mainly the freshers, switch their jobs very often.
Yes.
So what is your message like to the students?
I think they basically, one is whenever a company hires, they put them through a training cycle. And the moment they are trained, they seem to be more eligible for the job. So another company looks at them, and even for a small increment of $500, these youngsters think it's worthwhile moving. But after a while, we start looking at track records. So when the real big opportunity comes, we see that this person is not stable or does not know his or her own mind. Because, if you do not know what you like, what you don't like, you shift very quickly. So one of the things that we request is the placement officers do a lot of counseling. We're happy to help because they should know what is the new trends and what are these interests of these students. Because if they know where they are really interested, they will actually have a sticky base. But now, how will they learn to actually work from home? That's a new thing that we have to actually prepare them for. Because I don't think this industry, as an example, especially is ideally suited to work from home. So before, because everybody wanted to see it, we are doing it. But now, next 2 years, we are not to go back. But you can do what to help you. We can do virtual, what do you call it, job fairs. We can help you, link you up to large staffing companies, which will help look at these students and then see whether they can be placed. That we can definitely do for you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Can we have Mr. Faisal Khan, please? Faisal sir? Faisal sir, are you there?
I think he's not there, sir. Faisal sir.
Okay. Bharat sir? Bharat Bhandari sir?
Yes,
Professor
he's there.
Bharat Bhandari?
Yes,
Bhandari sir?
Yes, he's there.
Host, can you unmute him, please? Bharat Bhandari sir?
Yes.
Yeah, hello, ma'am. My name is Bharat. Ma'am, my question is like the freshers. In the freshers, normally, what is the strength and the weaknesses as an industry they normally see? I mean, since now everything is going to become online and the gig economy is going to come up. So, like, how are they going to judge the strength and weaknesses? And I mean, can you just elaborate on that? Because the interview process and all, everything is going to happen online. That is what
Yes,
the major
correct.
employers have
Yes.
said now.
Yes.
So, yeah, if you could
So
just...
one of the major things that we are looking for is problem solving. So the key focus whenever we ask is, suppose he comes, as he says, is an MBA, they have done project development, or this is a student who has done a civil, chemical, mechanical, or any other degree. We are now looking, he's applied for a job. So what we expect the student is, why is he applied for the job? What does he like about the job? Does he know what the job is about? Does he think he's qualified for the job? We ask these questions of the individual. Then I'll put a case study and say, this is the problem I have. How do you approach this problem? How will you think about it? So that becomes a very critical piece in our evaluation. Now, the new things that we are looking for is, how is he going to be the learnability of the student? This is becoming almost 50% of our quota for student. Because if I give him one problem and I give him a solution in another example, is he able to correlate the solution of the other problem and apply it here? Is he able to learn? The reason why we're saying is, we as a business are transforming almost every year. So I cannot keep hiring new people for this. So I have to take my existing employee base and see whether they can quickly learn to match the new requirements. So learnability, documentation, because quite often most of our kids do a lot of work. But then if I have somebody else who has to do it, there is no document or proof of action. So how do you documentation, learnability, attention to detail is hugely. So we ask them these very focused questions. Now online it's very easy. I will show them a project and say, what is right, what is wrong, what do you think is out of sync? Can you see where the difference is? Where is the oddity? So that attention to detail I'll be able to pull out. Because for us, when we give it, we now don't have back-end workers at front-end. Everybody has to be flexible in their work. So if you have to submit something, you don't have 5 people to go through it. You have to be the one to write it properly, execute it, give me the right contract, etc., and make it happen. The project must be executed. So these are the 5 points: problem solving, attention to detail, learnability. Then how will they adapt to this new work environment is what we are introducing to our interviews. This work from home. Will he be able to do it? He'll say, no, there's so much distraction. If there is so, how is he going to operate? How are you going to be able to work? Because we are not going to be able to offer you that office space where it is all quiet. You'll be easily distracted. So that adaptability of work is very important. And last but not the least is working in a team. So his communication skills, etc., which we used to look at, is very important. Because now my team is all global. Before I had to wait for somebody to come and physically meet me, but now it's not. Then it's very important of how this person dresses, how they are ready. They cannot look as if they come out from bed. So because they have to see, just like a cinema star, they have to see how they look on video. It's very, because what you see yourself on video is what the other person sees. And how they perceive this individual who's doing the project is what they feel will be the quality of the project. So these are all small pointers that if you help the student actually improve himself, because now there are so many apps that they can speak, answer questions, hear it back again, they will see how they are able to articulate. Some of them speak very fast. Sometimes they are not grammatically right in their articulation. But this makes an impact for my online business person. So if this is done, it's very important. Some just stare at the screen. They have to move around. So we are trying to train faculty also for this. How will they deliver a webinar? How will they be interesting to the student? Otherwise, the student, you will find, before in the class, he cannot get up and walk off, but now he'll switch off. So we are able to track and see how many students are actually sitting through the class. Very few students will actually sit through the class if you are uninteresting. So all this we can get data. So nowadays the teacher has to be somebody who is a performer par excellence, keep them interested, keep them engaged. So how will you do that? This is also we're trying to do. But kindly, this is a very important piece that your question is you have asked. So ask them to use video techniques. Now we are having new compression techniques in which we can do the whole interview online and then provide that bite which answers all these questions. And we will be able to then choose amongst that and then come back just to a handful. So I don't have to do 100 interviews. I can just do 5 because I will have all the whole interview already sent to me as an online package. So how do you videograph yourself doing it? How can you take a selfie video of yourself doing the whole interview and then edit it and see that there is no extraneous noise. There is no hesitation in your voice. All of this has to be properly done. So they have to prepare. So these techniques is something that you must teach your students now.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, I would like to request our Vice President for Mumbai region, Dr. Zahir Alam, sir, to please proceed with his question. Zahir, sir.
Yes.
Good evening, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, you are, sir.
Thank you, madam. As you rightly said, government is online nowadays. So looking into that, there are a lot of professional companies also like Coursera, Udemy, and other companies are also there online. So related to this, I want to ask a question like, how do you see the benefits of professional certifications and whether it is going to help students in getting placed or like just want to understand on the professional certifications.
A very pertinent question, and a professional certification is highly valued. So whenever you ask these companies who come to you like Coursera, Udacity, kindly ask which are the companies that they are hiring, who are hiring basis that particular certification. So that is an important question because then you'll also have an idea of what the pay package is, what type of jobs, etc. being offered. Otherwise, just doing a certificate for the sake of it, don't go for it. But professional certificates are definitely done. And NASSCOM is also now trying to help the universities and colleges and working with, Microsoft, working with Infosys, with TCS, Google, all of these players, saying to say whether they can map Cisco specifically and map the courses on cybersecurity, say courses in IoT, which they offer, and map it to the professional certifications and to the job roles which are declared by the government. So then there is a credit equivalence for these programs also. We are also looking at these professional certifications. If they have a lot of, at least 70 to 80% as a practical component, we can work with you to offer it as an internship equivalent for all engineering students, and we can make this available through AICT. So this also we are trying to facilitate because ultimately the student must get employed. So in addition to whatever they learn online, professional certification, please go for it 100%, but go with an informed choice. So because sometimes what happens is a student does not have an aptitude for it, but just goes because he feels that there is an opportunity, which will not serve him well. That's one of the reasons why they change jobs quite often.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am.
You,
next, I would like to request our colleague, Dr. Madhav Raul, sir. Raul, sir, your question, please.
Hi, ma'am. Very good evening.
Is this the
It
last
was
question
really a
of the day?
thought
Yeah.
session.
Yeah.
I have
Ma'am,
a
we are
very
having
big
couple of more.
question.
We are having
Okay.
couple of more.
Okay. There's
Yeah.
another call already come for the next meeting. So,
Uh,
okay. All right, sir. Please over to you. Yeah.
Ma'am, okay. A very basic question, ma'am. How to
Okay.
maintain emotional touch in remote teaching learning process?
It's a good question, I would say, but we are also learning in the process. So one of the things that we are doing is, if I have 5 meetings which are going to be basically in business, there's one meeting which we have, and it's a fixed meeting every week that we get our families together. My colleagues will have their children do some programs, dances, dramas. They are introducing their paintings, etc., so that we get to know each other still as a family. Otherwise, when we are there together over a cup of tea or during lunch or evening, they will talk to each other. So this sort of trying to bring the best amongst people, we're there, and we're given every employee the ability for freely using unlimited number of hours online to communicate with anybody they want. So we are given the Zoom, which is a free license for everybody, as well as we are given Microsoft Teams. So Cisco has also enabled webinars, etc., free during the COVID period. Please use it so that constantly you're in touch with family, but keep some hours aside so that you don't forget your families and you don't forget to actually do the usual gossip, but do it online. So we do keep this as a practice. So sometimes in the beginning, I said, oh my God, this is going to be a session where I'm going to see other children. But when I saw their paintings and their dances and stuff, I was simply amazed. So I think it's important for us to keep that human touch. Very pertinent question. But after a while, you fizzle out. So make an effort to it. That's what I'm trying to say. Otherwise, it normally is there. And gossip is very good for humans to vent out whatever their problems are. So keep those lines open. The lines on Teams is much more secure than Zoom, I'm informed. So go for it. So WhatsApp, Teams, and Twitter, and all of this uses the social media is available. But this is something that you must have. So your faculties, etc., must get together with the management, have time where they can talk about issues, have guest lectures, otherwise have programs which their own people are doing. Over the weekend, we had all our faculty actually prepare their own songs and put it up online. We never knew there were so many people who can sing well. But this is the only way that we are trying to keep the human touch in a time of social distance.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, ma'am. We will take 2 questions only, ma'am. Next, I would like to request our Vice President for Vidarbha region, Kunal Padole, sir. Padole, sir, your question, please.
Yeah, ma'am, very good evening. Thanks. Hello.
Yes, please go ahead, sir.
Ma'am, very good evening. Thanks for the lovely session. My question to you is looking to the COVID situation, what were the challenges faced by the IT industry pre-COVID? And what do you think, what will be the challenges in future post-COVID, reference to freshers hiring?
So what we did in the pre-COVID is a very fast understanding of the problem to be. So one of the things we did was we got ITS industry sector as an essential service. Because of which, even when the COVID hit us hard, we are operational. Otherwise, you have to shut down. See, so that one policy decision made by our president in consultation with the key members of NASSCOM has made this whole industry sector viable during the COVID period. Otherwise, all of us would be shut down because if we work under the Shops and Establishment Act. So likewise, it is very critical that the MAPTO take this up and you have to restart and jumpstart this process of education very quickly. Otherwise, one whole generation of students who are studied for 3, 4 years are now not going to get graduate degrees and will be out of the placement market. So it is very important to enable this not even earlier than later. So during the COVID, we are now advising others. We are talking of jumpstarting the educational ecosystem because without the right talent, we as an industry cannot also survive. Automation is in the long run very good, but the capital and requirement for automation is humongous. And it'll take a lot of time. But in a country like India, which is labor intensive, a huge capex on automated products right now is not the game because we need the cycle of influence to move around for business to run and therefore the economy to grow. So we have to work with others. So this is what we did. The first and the very first step was to make a very smart, bold decision to see that in every state government and in the central government, that IT services is an essential services as declared under that. Then we moved into basically managing all our companies and said everybody will not throw out people, you will not cut salaries, and then you will keep them employed. So we found new ways of engagement. Every leader not only is responsible for the work output, but also for the health and mental makeup of the people under their care. So a lot of effort is going into planning. So all our HR also take into consideration all of these points. Now, post-COVID, we are already prepared. We are saying that it's going to take another 2 years, and then we are putting policies in place of how we will be working in the gig economy, because it's no more worthwhile for us to have a full-time employee anymore, because the work is changing so fast. Because if I have an opportunity from an international client who wants to do X, he wants to do it for 6 months. So after 6 months, I cannot afford to have some individual on it. So I'll only hire people for that period of 6 months, but I will pay the best and I will go for global players. So what the gig economy will open up is competition globally for the Indian students. So unless you are globally competent yourself, you will find it in a very tough spot, because there's no more localization. So only if I go into manufacturing, like if I say handset manufacturing or trucks manufacturing, all of that will take some more time. How will it set itself? But in that interim, we have to be prepared for the online requirement. So it's good for everybody to have an alternative revenue earning opportunity and to get themselves upskilled to be ready for a longer period of wait before they go back to the old way of working.
Yes, yes. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Last question. May I request our Vice President from North Maharashtra, Suhail Sayed, sir. Please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. I would have a small question, like what can be done to develop programming skills or coding skill culture right from the school days? Like if it starts early in their learning process, it will benefit in long run. So any advice in that direction?
So we are actually working with MHRD and with Niti Aayog, and we have opened up this AI for schools. So if you let me, it's just a free program. So we're happy to help out. And there will be a young person on my team who I will introduce. So if you connect with me post, you have my email. I will be making available this program, which is being done by the government to initiate it even as early as 6th standard. It's very important because they will live in an era of digitization, and even our youngsters and babies are now knowing how to handle cell phones and remotes. So I think we have to live with a new way of how people will look at. So before, you never used to give your child a cell phone. Now they live on that only. They communicate on that. So that's a new norm. It's a new newspaper. Nobody now has a newspaper at home unless it's a special bread. We all read news only online. And most of 99% is on the cell phone. So that will become the new communication tool. So it's very important, I think, that we set these processes in place. Definitely.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Roundale, sir.
Yeah, ma'am, thank you so much.
pleasure.
Sorry, my connection, I got disconnected in between. Thank you for your precious time, ma'am. It was pleasure listening to you and your views, and whatever expectations you put forth for MARTPO, definitely we will take it ahead. Thanks to all the participants, thanks to entire MARTPO team, principals, faculty, students, and industry professionals who were present. I think this is really a good beginning. And ma'am, definitely, as we discussed in the morning, that we want to make clusters of industries and the colleges in those areas, and we will definitely need support from your team also. Let's do something good for the society and the students. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. So last but not the least, thank you for this opportunity. All of you have organized this because it's very important that we understand both the demand and the supply to make the economy grow. So one of the first things that MAPTO can do is to look at all the universities and colleges that require their students to be certified and complete their program, semester program, or to complete the the end of year program, so that they have their exams. Now, please talk to your state governments. I'm informed because we have done the needful at the central government. So there they have agreed that remote proctoring and online auto proctoring is permitted. For a small fee of 100 rupees, 200 rupees, 250 rupees, etc., these exams can be done. Questions can also come from your own faculty, but we'll apply this process And NASSCOM SSC is positioned and authorized under the government to basically do these assessments. So if you can reach out in the next 2-3 weeks, we can actually complete this so as to see that the last batch of students who are to complete are completed the year. Then we can usually get you all the requirements with the help of your state government and yourselves to see how you will go online. We are happy to support this at no cost. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Daigude sir is there? Daigude sir? Okay.
No.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Thank you. Have a good day, sir.
Ma'am, may I request all the participants to switch on your video so that we can go for a digital selfie?
Wow.
Host.
Please.
What a nice idea. What a nice idea. Please.
Host, please take care of this host.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank
Jai
you.
Ma TPO. Jai Ma TPO.
I will just put it up, sir.
I request all the participants to switch on their.
Thank you so much.
And we are there with you, ma'am. If you have some plans for us, please let us know. We are there with you. These many of colleges, 500 colleges, almost 150 students are there with us. We will definitely try our level best to do something good for the student community, ma'am.
Yeah, if it's possible, if this has been videoed so that they can actually listen in and your comments and questions. And if there are further questions that they want to take, we're definitely happy to take it offline. But my first thing is, if all these students can be served through your support to actually complete the year by doing this online remote proctored assessments and exams, we have got a full infrastructure to support and the government authorization to do so. That will be the greatest service that we can do to our young ones first. That is what we can do.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Right.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes. Host, please end the meeting.